Ooh.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome to the first ever Bluefields Basic School Virtual Open House. My name is Megan Smoot, and I am a co-founder of the nonprofit JAWorks. We're based in North Carolina, USA, but you joined a few moments ago. You heard that we're worldwide, reaching globally today. We have folks from as far as England. I don't remember exactly where you're from, Lennox. Over to the other side of Canada, the western side of Canada. So I think we're reaching globally today. But I do want to welcome you. I thank you for joining today. I know we had to reschedule and postpone a couple of times due to Tropical Storm Ida, which became a hurricane up through the US. So she really wreaked havoc on a lot of the systems, the internet and power. And so we're finally able to all come together today. Thank goodness. So glad everyone's got their power and internet back. So we're going to make this as interactive as possible. We'll use the chat. We'll have some Q&A time. Would love everyone to post in the chat where they're calling in from today, just so we can kind of see where in the world everyone is. So feel free to chat that in today. And as a reminder, I'm going to mute everyone's lines because we are recording. When we get to the Q&A, you're welcome to come off mute and ask your questions, but you're always welcome to put those in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that as well as we go. So you can enter questions at any time. So today we're all here to celebrate the Bluefields Basic School in Bluefields, Jamaica. I'm joined by some special guests. Principal Joy Baker of the Bluefields Basic School, and also Goldie Christos, who is the fundraising chairman of the board. So we welcome both of them to the call today. So hello, guys. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
Greetings from beautiful Bluefields, Jamaica.
Yes, we all wish we were sitting on your porch. I know I in particular. But today, we're really glad everyone is joining. We're going to hear some from both Wolde and Joy about the Bluefields Basic School, why it's so important to the Bluefields community. We're going to hear some history. We're going to hear some music. We're going to take a virtual tour of the basic school for those of you who have not been there or have not been there in a while. It's looking really great. So we'll get all of that going here. But first off, we're going to kick off today's event with some true Jamaican culture. We're going to hear from the Zionist Drummers. And Wolde is going to give us a little intro to that, and then we'll get that started. So Wolde, I'll hand it over to you.
Yes, Nyabingi drumming, it's really originally, as you know, many of us are of African descent here in Jamaica, and we have various forms of drumming. We have the revival drumming, and we have also the Rastafarian drumming, which we call Naya Bingi. All right, the Rastaman is called Naya, and you know what we have as a worship, you know, is Bingi. So we have the Naya Bingi. It really started in the 1930s here in Jamaica, and it really blossomed into a beautiful, beautiful form of religion, you know, or of spiritual movement, because many Rastafarians, we don't like it to be called religion, but more like a movement, a spiritual movement, a one love movement. It really centered around back to Africa, respecting one's Black self, you know, growing, working together in unity, you know, chanting down evil in high and low places. We believe that evil is everywhere. And the Nyabingi drumming, we strongly believe that when we chant, that we chant down the evils of this time. All right, so it's a slower form, because when the Rastaman come together and we take in the sacrament, which is the herb, it slows things down. So it tends to be very much slower than the normal revival drumming or the normal African drumming. And it's a true worship form. I grew up Rastafarian. I still practice Rastafarian. And so I learned as a child to play the drums. And today you will be introduced to the Nyabingi drumming through my group, which I call the Zionist Drummers. And it's all my family and I. We're drumming here in Bluefields, Jamaica.
That was amazing. Like I said, I miss being on your front porch, Wolde. We've had many good times there with all of you, especially watching the sunset. I'm curious what the significance of the song is that you guys chose to play and share with us there.
Again, it's a popular Bob Marley, a popular Nyabingi song, or it's a revival song that has been modified to suit the Rastafarian culture. And so it's you know, talking about the Rastaman, you know, hear the voice of the Rastaman say, Babylon, your throne gone down, you know, and Babylon's supposed to be evil. And as I said, when we say evil, it means in high and low places, black, white, whatever you want to think. It doesn't really link to one set of people, but, you know, so the oppression, we're talking about, you know, lack of equal rights and justice. It's really just saying, you know, we chant that down.
Well, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing it with us today to kick our program off. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Joy Baker, Principal Joy of the Bluefields Basic School, and she's going to share with us some of the history and accomplishments that the school has seen over the years. So Joy, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Megan. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's great seeing Lennox. I haven't seen Lennox in quite a long time. Miss Linton, I'm not seeing your face, one of our past teacher who is over there in the States is on as well. Happy to see you, Auntie Pearl. It's a long while. And there are many others that are Uncle Bill, Auntie Margie. I know you're on. I'm so happy to have you guys sharing with us. Ashley is not here, one of our great instrumental persons who have helped to put this all together. Unfortunately, she had an emergency today, and we just want to keep her and her family in our prayers. And so I want to say big up to everyone who have made it possible to be on this platform this afternoon and to share in this wonderful event. I want to share with you a bit of history about our school. The Bluefields Basic School is situated in the parish of Westmoreland, Bluefields community to be exact, and Bluefields community has over 10 districts, Belmont being the largest district in the Bluefields community. And we are situated here in Belmont. This school started in the early 1950s, 1953 to be exact. And we have our records which state that.
We're up in Jamaica, Judy.
1953, with this lady that you've seen on the screen, Frances Weatherburn. She started that school over in Brighton, the district of Brighton, and it later moved to Belmont, here, right down where we call Creek, and it's called Creek because of that stream that runs through under the bridge and going across to the sea, right? So that's where it was for many, many years. When the school started with Miss Francis, we had only one main building which holds all age groups, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and 5 to 6-year-old students. I'm a past student of that school and a proud past student of that school, if I may say. So Miss Francis had worked tirelessly to build our school. On the picture there, you'll see Miss Dryden, Erica Dryden, a past teacher, and you'll see Constance Palmer as well, another past teacher, and some students that you'll see there. These students are much younger than I am, but we're happy to have these photos of Miss Francis. And so our school continued to progress with the aid of our many partners. You'll see me there with my group of 4-year-old students. That would be way back in 1997, I think it was. And some of my students are now, as a matter of fact, this one on this side was a past teacher. That's Miss Tanisha Slater. And there are many others that are abroad. Some have even taught their students who have moved on to high school and are also working now, some of these students that you're seeing here. And so it's very critical for us to really work towards building early childhood education, not only in Jamaica, but throughout the world, because it's very important to give our children an early start. So what you're seeing here is pictures from the building, transitioning from the one building to 3 smaller classrooms. And it was through the instrumentality of the Bluefields People's Community Association with CJMAS and Bluefields Villas that help us to have these 3 classrooms that you're seeing there, right? These students that you're looking at are all past students who have finished high school and are now in the working force as well. So we have Canada Jamaica Medical Assistance Society that have helped us with giving funding to help us to have those 3 classrooms. And so we were there for quite a while, and a little space that we rented from a community member here through Miss Francis that had rented through her friend at that time, but the space wasn't big enough with what our dream and our vision is for early childhood development in Bluefields. And so we worked tirelessly with our various partners, Bluefields Bay Fishermen Friendly Society. We have worked with Food for the Poor, and we have worked with many other JAWorks, CJMAS, Missouri State University, Eastern Michigan University, and many others which have helped us. And so in 2012, this new building that you're seeing now started and was completed in 2013. And we moved there for September 2013, our new state-of-the-art building. And so we continue to work together to build on what was started by the late Francis Wedderburn. Some of our accomplishments over the period are, we have participated in the Positive Intervention Support Program on the island, to be exact, the only basic school in Jamaica that has participated in that program, which seeks to implement positive behavior change in our students. So we were one of the piloting school. We also participated in the piloting of the present curriculum that we're using now. One of the basic schools in Westmoreland that have participated in that program. And this curriculum that we're using today, we're saying that we were proud to be a part of that development. We also entered various competitions throughout the White House cluster, participating in literacy competition where our children have been champion. We have participated in the White House cluster of basic schools sports or athletics program, and we were champion. We have participated in also what we call little cricket or stool ball, and we're champions in those events. And so our school continued to strive and have worked tirelessly to have our children not only engage in academical performances, but also in extracurricular activities, helping our children to develop on a holistic level. So we know who are good at sports, who are good at mathematics, who are good at music, who are good at dancing and all those things. So we continue to strive with our various partners. However, this pandemic that we are now faced with, and it's a global thing that we are going through right now, and it has wreaked havoc on us. One of the problems that we face, or the challenge that we face as a school, we are not able to provide funding to pay our staff, pay our teachers the way that we would want to. We're not able to reach all our students the way we want to, because many of our children don't have the devices to go online. They don't have internet connectivity, right? And some of them still don't have what we call textbooks. So what we have done throughout the pandemic so far, and still doing today, is where I would collect the children textbooks, and I'd give them work in the textbook. We'll give them the work in the textbook. We'll do printed materials on a weekly basis and distribute those printed materials. We'll give them work also in the writing book to help to develop the writing skills and the fine motor skills. And then we'll collect on a Friday, and we go back over it on a Monday, drop off on Mondays, collect and on Fridays, and we go back over that throughout this period. So that's the way we have been reaching our children throughout this pandemic. The pandemic has also created what we call persons within the community, parents not able to have their work go to their normal work that they used to, because they have lost their job, and so they can't provide the tuition that is charged, so we can help to offset some of our costs. So parents are feeling it, the children are feeling it, the community is feeling it, right, because of this pandemic. But we are not daunted by all of that. We still believe in our children. We still believe in giving our children that early start and that sound foundation on which they need to build their education as they move from the basic school to the primary school, onto high school, and even to the tertiary level. And so we continue to work, and we continue to keep track of our children. Many of them today are in various professions, teachers, doctors, lawyers. We even have someone who have a PhD that have gone to the Bluefields Basic School. And our basic school have served over 4,600 students since its inception. And today, we are very proud to say that we are happy for what we were able to accomplish and what we are doing within our community to help our young children to gain that solid education that they need. We are also in need presently of a playground, but one of our greatest need now is to help us to get 2 teachers, right? 2 trained teachers, because having trained teachers at the early childhood level is very, very critical, because a trained teacher would have gone through the rigor of training and know how to deal with a child at the early childhood level, and deal with the emotional issues, to deal with the social issues, to deal with all the other issues that the children are able to pass on to us. So as teachers, we are the doctors in the classroom, we are the lawyers, we are the mommies, we are the teachers as well, because when they have all the various issues, children coming to school, can't help themselves to go to the bathroom, we'll have to take that on to assist them to the bathroom. Sometimes we have to assist them in helping them to eat. So we'll have to feed them as well. So we provide the proper nutrition for our children once they're at school in the physical space, right? So having these 2 new teachers that we are so much vying for is very critical to the development of our children at this stage, because without giving the children that solid foundation that they need at this level, it will hamper their education as they move on. We have seen where children who have not gotten that right start have fallen through the cracks. When they get to primary school, they are not able to function. So at our school, our children, when they leave, they are able to hold their pencil to write their names on their own. They're able to know their letters, they're able to know their numerals, they're able to know their colors and their shapes, they're able to read simple sentences. And so when they get to the primary level, they are able to manage the grade 1 inventory test that the government has set for them, so they can move on to the next level, right? So in getting these 2 teachers, it's going to help me as the principal and administrator and operator, not having to teach the other classes, which I've been teaching the 4-year-old and the 5-year-olds throughout last year, and doing the administrative work. So it will help me to relieve some of the burden that I have in teaching the other classes, right? So when we have these teachers, they will have play their role in helping our children to be developed into the strong minds that we want them to have, so that they can move on and do well when they go on to the next level of their education. I want to say thanks to all the partners who have helped us thus far and who have continued to help us to reach this milestone where we are today in our education system, and have helped Bluefields on a whole to be where it is today. I want to say a big thank you to CJMAS, to Jaworks, to Lennox, to Uncle Bill and Auntie Margie, Missouri State, Eastern Michigan, and all the other Bluefields villas, even though they are not here, Lunacy, and many others who have helped us to achieve the goals that we are able to achieve. We were one of the 18 schools in Jamaica to receive license from the government of Jamaica, from the Early Childhood Commission, to operate for 5 years. We were the 3rd school in Westmoreland to have received that license, right? And that is a big accomplishment. To receive the license from the Early Childhood Commission, you have to pass 232 standards. You have 12 standards, and under the 12 standards, we have 232 that you have to pass for you to get that license. It's not easy, because you have to make sure that you have the teachers in place, because staffing is one. You have to make sure that you have the materials in place, the resources in place to teach the children, like sleeping mats, at least 4 different type of books per child, 4 different type of toys per child. You have to make sure that you have proper nutrition. Our menu sheet is up with our menu that we serve the children on a daily basis, and having fire extinguisher, smoke detector, all these things, playground equipment to facilitate the needs of our children. So it takes a lot. Basic school, for some people, they think it's just like, oh, I'm sending my child to daycare, but it's much more than that. It takes a lot to give our children what they need at this level. And we are prepared to do that and continue to do so in helping our children. I want to say thank you guys for being a part of this program. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for all your support. And we look forward to your support.
So Joy, I'm sitting here hearing your passion in speaking about the basic school. And as long as I've known you, if you've never heard Joy speak before now about the basic school, she always has this passion about it. And I think it's just amazing to, you know, you were a student there, you taught there, and now you're the principal, and you still have the passion for the school that you do. And I just want to commend you for that, because, you know, if anyone's been in a room with 63, 4, and 5-year-olds, I don't know about you guys, but my passion might have flown out the window a while ago. So I think it takes a really special person to put these young children first, and to make sure that they are provided the education that they deserve, one step at a time, but to get them that when they need it and where they need it. So thank you, Joy, for your passion.
You know, Megan, when I was doing my studies and when I made the application to the university, International University of the Caribbean, I remember the director said, why going into early childhood? Why don't you go to primary or to secondary? You know, because you have the skill, the aptitude, the requirement that you need. And I said, no. If all our best minds are moving onto the primary and onto the high school, what is going to happen to our children at the early childhood level that needs it the most? We need some of our strongest mind at the early childhood level, because if they don't get the right start, and if the child or the children are not able to get that right start, I'm telling you, it's not going to help them. I've seen my son today. He went to the Bluefields Basic School, and he went to Belmont Academy. He had skipped 2 grades, and he is a proud student of Belmont Academy with 10 CXCs now, and have moved on to lower 6, finished lower 6, and moving on to upper 6. And it's because of that solid foundation of his education that he had received at the Bluefields Basic School. So it works. I am here and I'm a proud product of that. So it works. Early childhood
really
education
awesome.
is very important.
And I've known Wolde II, your son, who you speak of, since he was shorter than I, and now he's taller. But I'm amazed at him and his progress through the school system, but also as a person. So very cool to see him grow. At this point, I'm going to remind everyone that you are welcome to place your questions into the chat. We will have a Q&A session here in just a few minutes. So you can go ahead and put those in there. We are monitoring those, and we'll ask the questions here in a few. First, I'm going to turn things over to Goldie Christos, a man of many talents. He not only is the lead drum on the Zionist Drummers, as you heard earlier, he is also the fundraising chairperson from the Bluefields Basic School Board, among other things. So we won't get into his long list of resume additions. But Wolde, I would like to turn things over to you to talk about your role in the Bluefields Basic School.
Thank you. Greetings, my people. It's nice to have you. Now, Joy spoke about the school, and you know, it's beginning. But before I get into the fundraising, a community school, when a school is started and it is a community school, it is owned and operated by the community. So even though Miss Francis started the school, is that she started it as a community school. So the school belongs to the Bluefields community. It is run by a democratically elected board and headed by a principal or an administrator. In this case, it happens to be joy. All right. So what the community used to do in the 1950s until I became involved, it's where they would have concerts, they would sell things on behalf of the school, make personal donations, stuff like that. So it really has been truly a community school in terms of persons helping to pay for the administrative cost of the school. In the late 1990s, we then started to seek partnership with entities in order to fund the school. And one such entity that we approached was Bluefields Villas, that later on morphed into creating a philanthropic organization called Bluefields Environmental Protection Association. And they have funded grant us funding over the years, and we really appreciate it and thank them for all that they have done for the school. Over that period of time, the school has remained a community school. And today, here we are. Ms. Joyce spoke of the progress we have made in terms of the physical plant. I will not go back over that. I will stay in my lane, which is bring in the money. All right, that's my lane. Now, it takes cash to care. And because of where we are, when we look at the budget for the school, we look at the budget right now to be a little over 8 million Jamaican dollars. And for that, we have to generate that funding. Now, the school, the maximum that we would have there as students is 60, maybe 65 students. We charge 6,000 Jamaican dollars per term, $18,000 per year for a child. So when you do the math, it doesn't really bring in much, you know, just a little over $1 million it brings in. And so the rest of it, we have to generate it, and we generate it through fundraising programs. So we at the school, we have fundraising programs through fundraising dinner, fundraising shows, stage show, whatever we can in order to raise funds. But one of the strong area is the continued seeking of partners. And we have approached JAWorks. Don't know if you know of that organization, but JAWorks, we approached them and said, we would really like to do some fundraising in collaboration with you. We have also approached CJMAS, and CJMAS has been involved since the late 1990s. And CJMAS was really, well, a group of Jamaicans really started that and decided that they wanted to help Jamaica. And we learned about them, and they came in and started to work with us and have been funding us. So what we have done is to say, okay, the first partnership that we see, it's where individuals and organizations can donate through these entities. You can pledge a monthly donation, which you would get a receipt for that you can use against your taxes, whether in the United States or in Canada. We also look at it and we said the next thing that we look at is that you can give a one-off donation. All right, whether you're an individual or a company, you can give a one-off donation for the year that would then go to the school. So that's how we have been really funding the school, is through partnerships. We look at it this year and we said, what is it that is our main need? And the main need this year is to put in 2 qualified teachers, Joy has mentioned before, to pay them equivalent to what the government would pay them if they were in a government institution. It's going to be $1.5 million Jamaican per teacher. It comes to $3 million. So we have really boxed that off and we said, okay, in order to create stability at the school, we are going to go for that funding. So when we're hiring a teacher, that teacher doesn't have to worry about where funding is going to come from, because community schools, our basic schools, are suffering from instability because of inadequate funding. So that when qualified teachers do come to the school, because the school, if the school doesn't really have the funding to pay them, then they tend to leave for more steady, for more where their salary is more secure. And they try to either go overseas to work, many of them, and some of them try to get into the government schools because their salary would be now secure. What we want to do is to make sure that at the basic school level, at our basic school, that the funding for our teachers are secure. So that's our aim. So we blocked that off and we have gone after that. And what we did, we created a GoFundMe page, and that GoFundMe page we have been sending out, putting out. JAWorks has it on its side. So does CJMAS. We have sent it as far as England to Mr. Lennox Adams, who has been involved into the BPCA, the Bluefields project, since the late 1980s. So we're spread out in terms of saying we're seeking funding. And I mean, Lennox, for instance, earlier this year, make a large donation of £500 towards the school to say, you know, this is how I would like to support. So the GoFundMe has been sent out, and the GoFundMe is already active, and the GoFundMe is generating. So my mission on the board is to keep the board focused on this critical aspect of bringing in the funding which is needed. My also is to seek partnerships with various entities and individuals in order to really come to raise that money which we need, that extra 6.5 million which we need in order to run the school. All right, so that's my mission. And so far we have been doing well. You know, we have the GoFundMe and it's growing. We have where Megan is going to speak more on that aspect of it, but it's where we have so far over $5,000 have been donated, and Megan will take us through that when it's her turn. But it's really, I want to say thank you so far to all those who have been partnering with us, and those who have been giving us a chance in order to be stable. I want to say to you that many basic schools since the pandemic had to close their doors. Many basic schools. Just here in Bluefields alone, we know of 2 basic schools that had to close their doors because they don't have adequate funding. Fortunately, because of our partnership, we were able to keep our doors open, and all our staff has been paid up to August of this year. So we really want to say to you, thank you. And we really want to say to all those who are going to be donating to the GoFundMe, thank you. And for those who are going to be sharing it with their friends and family, thank you in advance. And thank you again for the partnership, because together we are providing the early start, the sound start that our children here in Bluefields need in order to move forward. I thank you.
Wolde, thank you for that. I'm just going to pop up a couple slides here that you guys have provided many of these pictures for, about the partnerships that have come and walked alongside you all. And I'm humbled to be part of that from the JAWWorks side, it's really, again, I go back to the word passion. It's really you and Joy's passion, not only for the community or for the school, but also for the community, that has really created that passion in myself and in our co-founders as well in JAWWorks. And I'm sure those others who have partnered, but I love these photos because it really shows how many people have come again alongside of you to create this energy around the Bluefields Basic School. Your solar panels, the water system, the moving in right there front and center. I'll give a shout out to my husband TJ and our friend Justin for we happened to be their move-in day to the new school, and it's really cool to have been a part of that. I know we've got, there's another one here. I wanted to share the water tank being hoisted. I know Bill on the call is under the tank, so glad you guys got it on the roof and got it up there. But it does take many, right? It takes a village if we want to think about that to raise the children. And I really think you guys have a global village that comes in locks arms with the Bluefields community around this education, this early childhood education. And I just think that's super cool. And again, I'm humbled to be a part of that. So those of you on the call today, you may be asking how you can help. We talked about the goal today for the basic school to be able to have 2 new teachers for the school year coming up. And I know Joy's been interviewing and accepting applications for that, so we're well on our way. We had the GoFundMe slide up a moment ago that showed you the progress to date. And I wanted to peek in, and again, I went and grabbed this screenshot this morning because it's close to $6,000, and we've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. 6,000 US out of the $20,000 goal, and that's for 2 teachers. And one of the things that I was really intrigued with for this fundraising venture was that after 1 year of funding one of the teachers, then the government will step in to pay that teacher's salary. So this was really about being sustainable and about finding that funding and give the school the hand up, not a handout, but the hand up that it needs to be able to become more self-sustainable in the future. So one of the things I want to mention too, which is super exciting, is that the collective We have a generous sponsor that is doubling all donations. And so anytime a donation is made, whether it's to one of our individual organizations, directly to the basic school, through JAWWorks or through CJMAS, through the GoFundMe, that donation is going to be doubled. And so we're really thankful that effectively already $10,000 of that $20,000 has been matched. So I want to mention that because I'm super excited about that support as well. And then, so one other thing that can happen that you could do to help sustain the school is to give monthly. So Wolde, I know, talked about this a little bit. Both CJMAS and JAWWorks on their websites have a way for you to donate if you'd like to go directly through our organizations, or to the GoFundMe is fine too. But to donate monthly, you can do that directly at our websites, and you can see those listed there. And we'll post a couple of links in the chat as well if you'd like to go out there and visit and kind of see where that is to donate. If you're in Jamaica in Bluefields, please contact the Bluefields Board of Directors. Look up Wolde, find out how you can give. And it's not only with your donations, but also your time. And so if you're unable to give, but you're able to help out with tutoring or with maintenance at the school, I know they always are looking for someone to be able to help and give their time in that way. And so at this point, I want to check in and see if there are any questions in the chat. If you guys have questions, please do go ahead and add them in to the chat. I also promised you could come off mute if you would like to ask any questions. And so we'll give everyone time to do that today. If you'd like to come off mute, you're welcome to. I just ask that you introduce yourself and let us know where you're from, and ask your question. And while we're doing that and waiting on some questions to come in, I have a question actually for for joy. And I'd love to know, you mentioned a little bit about this when you were talking about the history of the school and kind of like how you all are teaching the children today. But what are some of the things that make the most positive difference for the children in their learning? So I don't know if there's one thing or many, but I'm always curious about that, because I think that children can get their education, but there's all of these other things kind of wrapped around getting them to the right kind of frame of mind or state to be able to get that education. So what would you notice makes the most positive difference in that children's learning environment?
Well, social interaction is very, very important to young children, because when they get to school, especially at age 3, and when they just started, many of them are crying, they want to go home. We call that separation anxiety. They go through that a lot. And you as a teacher will have to be there cuddling. I remember one group of students at one point, I was holding 4 in my hand. Miss Stevens was holding another 4 when they started crying because they were new and wanted to go home. But when those children start to settle in, interacting with each other, playing with each other, playing with us as teachers, having fun, interacting with all the teaching learning gadgets that are there, and playing games, it helps. I'm telling you. And to see a child coming in at age 3, not able to hold a pencil, not able to hold a crayon, not able to even zip a button, to zip up their zipper, or to fix a button. And when they're leaving, they're able to hold their pencil, they're able to write, they're able to have a conversation. Because some come to you can't even speak. They can say one word or 2, but can't make a sentence. And when they're leaving, they're able to do that. That's an accomplishment for a child, and they feel proud. When it comes down to school leaving exercise time, when they have to go off to the next level and they dressed up and come out, and you talk about them and what they're able to do and how they were able to manage the different assessments and to go through the rigor. I'm telling you, it is so heartwarming. It is so exciting, and you really feel a sense of accomplishment that you have done something, just to see the joy on those children's face.
I imagine that's kind of what keeps you going from day to day, is to see that accomplishment of the children, right? And like you said, the joy on their face. I think that's really cool.
Just
any
yeah.
other questions from the audience before we're going to jump into a school tour here in just a moment.
This is Pearl Tingle, president of the Canadian Jamaican Medical Assistance Society. As a former early childhood educator, I will concur with Joy that social development is very important for young children. Not only that, it helps their cognitive development. Mm-hmm. It also helps them to work cooperatively. And a new thing that sociologists have found out is that it also breaks the school to prison barrier. Children who've got that early start will not hopefully end up in prison. And that is very, very important in Jamaica. Children will have a place to go. They will learn from very early how to behave, how to interact with each other, how to solve problems. And so if you're listening and you have not yet contributed to this worthy cause, please dig deeply. This is also a passion of mine. I worked as a preschool teacher for 7 years at the University of British Columbia. So I know the importance of early education. So please dig deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, we are going to take a tour of the school. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got notified by my technical support that Bob was maybe trying to ask a question and is perhaps muted. Bob Fischel. Let me see if we can unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
We can, Bob.
Judy and I were talking and wondering about how the health of the community is with this COVID virus going around. And it's very, very tough, I'm sure, in the places where the medical availabilities are not the same as they are here in the States. And we got concerns about that and just, wondering if there's any way that can help. And got to keep these kids healthy and the community healthy too.
Yeah, great question. Wolde or Joy, would you like to take that one?
We're not back in the physical space, and right now we're on the what we call lockdown. So for 3 days, we have no movement days in an effort to control the spread of the pandemic. And from listening to the news last night, I'm learning from the health personnel that it is working, and we hope that it will continue to work. So for tomorrow, it's a no movement day, Monday and Tuesday as well. Only if you're heading out to get vaccinated that you are allowed to move. And if you move, you can be fined, and you don't have a valid reason for moving, you can be fined for that. Also, within the school system, you have to have all the protocols in place. So like at the basic school, when we were moving for face-to-face, we had to put in hand washing station. We have to put in all the things that they would get sanitizer from, the sanitizer, the automatic sanitization machines that you put in to be sanitized. Their temperature, everybody temperature has to be checked. Once you are coming onto the property, your temperature must be checked. It must be recorded. If you travel on a bus or you walk to school, it must be recorded how you get to school. And all of these things have to be there. You have to have posters, we have to conduct various training of the staff on COVID-19. We have to bring in like persons from the CDA and from the public health to come in and to talk to our staff and to our parents in preparation for face-to-face. So, and there is a rigorous assessment that you have to go through, which is a public health assessment. All institutions will have to go through it before you can get the go-ahead from the public health personnel who are in charge for you to open for face-to-face. So without that rigorous assessment by the public health, you're not allowed to go back face-to-face. No institution at all will be allowed to go back face-to-face.
That's a great question. And Joy, you did touch on this earlier, but what that means at the school level is if the children are in the remote learning situation, then it's very difficult for them to be able to have access to their materials, internet access, WhatsApp or whatnot. And I know, Joy, you actually had to go over to the next town over to Sav, I think it was, or maybe White House, but to make copies of the materials on a weekly basis and deliver them to the children, pick them back up, grade them, and basically stay in communication with the children as you could. But I know that that's a struggle for you and for the community. But Bob and Judy, thank you for that question. Do appreciate it. So one more question that has just come in. Do you have to do daily COVID tests for children and staff at the basic school?
No, we don't. What we do is temperature check every day. And you have to make sure that whenever the children come in, we have to take their bags off before they enter the classroom, sanitize them before they go in, make sure that their hands are sanitized and washed and clean before they enter the classroom. And each time that they move, we'll have to sanitize.
Got it. All right, so we are going to go ahead and take that tour of the school. Thank you all for all of your questions. Let's see if I can bring it up here. I hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Bluefields Basic School, situated in Belmont District, Bluefields, PO, Westmoreland. Here we have the view of the mountain as well as the view of the Caribbean Sea. Let's go on a tour of our facilities. Here we are on the front corridor of the facility and we are heading into the 3-year-old classroom. So this is a 3-year-old classroom, and as you can see, our classroom is arranged in a way in which our children can be seated. Due to the COVID-19 protocol, we had to move all our learning centers out of the way, and our children are seated in the middle. Over on the wall here, you'll see some of the amazing work that our children did while they were back in school face-to-face in January and February. Now we're moving on to the 4-year-old classroom. Here on our wall you'll see some of our national heroes and our heritage being displayed. We're now in the 4-year-old classroom. And this is what the 4-year-old classroom looks like. Same, where we had to have our children keeping their social distances. So you'll see the markers on the floor where the children are being placed and where they are seated. So this classroom is one of our classrooms that is very much in need of a teacher, because I was the one who was teaching this age group. The 3-year-olds also need a teacher, because the teacher that has been with the 3-year-old, she was mainly hired to assist us as teachers. You look on the wall here too, you'll see where the children were engaged, some of the activities that the children were engaged in while they were back here face to face, and you see the theme that we were focusing on during the time that we were here face to face in January. Moving on to the 5-year-old classroom, which is the older children. Here you see us displaying our various posters on COVID-19, which we taught the children while they were here how to keep their distances, why it is important for them to wear their masks and so forth. And also in all of that integration, we were learning about transportation. And here you see some of the work that our children did while they were here face to face in January. You'll see the seating arrangement of how the classroom is organized. Now I'll give you a tour of the facilities, bathroom facilities for our children. Here we have the boys' bathroom, the urinal. The first bathroom is built to accommodate a wheelchair. So our facility is built with the intention to have inclusion of all children. We have our shower area, which is very vital, because as small children, they tend to mess up at times, and as teachers, we will have to take them to get them cleaned up and refreshed, since we have our shower. We have our janitor area, and in our janitor area, we also have a system which was set up to the implementation, that was set up to help us to have water that is very clean and purified, that we can serve our children if should we be out of the NWC potable water. Over here we have the girls' bathroom, and the same as with the boy, the first bathroom is built to accommodate wheelchair in case we have any child or children with disabilities. So you have seen both the boys and the girls' bathroom. Now we are moving on from the bathroom facilities, and we're headed to the kitchen over on this side. So here we have our kitchen facilities. This is where all the hot meals are prepared Monday to Friday to serve our children, because we believe that for children to learn proper nutrition is very, very important. Hence we have our menu sheet that guides us in preparing the type of food that our children should eat and receive, so that they have a balanced diet, so that they can perform well when they are here at school. We also have these, which are our hand washing station, which we had instituted to aid us in helping our children to comply with the COVID-19 protocols. Over here we have our staff dining area, which we do not really use for dining because we eat with our children in their classrooms. And so we have the solar system, which is set up in here, the batteries and the control system with the panels on the roof, because we use solar and not electricity here at Bluefields Basic School. Thanks to the many and various partnerships that we have that have made this possible. And here we have our storeroom, which stores all our major things that we are not using at the moment. Finally, I show you where we have our office and sick bay. So here's the office, and in our office you'll see there are various certifications that we have received. So this one is the license from the Early Childhood Commission, which we received in 2016. And for us to receive this license, we have to pass over 232 standards by the Early Childhood Commission. We also participate in literacy competition as a cluster, and we were the champion in literacy competition in 2018-2019. We also have to be registered by the fire departments, and there is also the certificate. In 2005, our children participated in the Cyber Center competition at the Bluefields People's Community Center, which was run and operated at the time by Mr. Keith Weatherburn, and we were champions of the 7 basic schools that participated in that competition. We were also champion of the White House cluster of basic schools Sports Day, hence we have this trophy to show that we were champion of that sporting activity. So these are some of the things that our children have been engaged in while they are at the Bluefields Basic School. Here we have our sick bay, now turned isolation area due to COVID-19, and this is where we take our children who are not feeling well and call their parents or guardians to let them know. But this is where they stay during that period. We also have a sick bay form, so that when the child comes here to stay, and the person who is responsible will write up this form to show that the child was in the sick bay. So this is really a tour of what the Bluefields Basic School looks like, thanks to our many and varied partners who have partnered with us in making sure that we give our children the early start and the sound foundation that they need to build on their education. Thank you.
Joy, thank you for that tour. I hope everyone enjoyed that, although, you know, we can't necessarily be in Bluefields right now for many different reasons. I'm glad to get that walkthrough of the school and see it being ready for children to come back when they're able. I did see a couple questions come into the chat while the tour was going on, so we can ask those. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Ryan Simpson for donating through the GoFundMe. I know you are or were on the call. I think I still see you there. So thank you so much for your donation. And again, that's going to be doubled. So any donations that come through GoFundMe or any of the channels will be doubled by our matching sponsor. So thank you so much, Ryan. All right, a couple of questions. So Joy, how many children attend the school irrespective of COVID?
Well, when we were back in school face to face, we had up to 30 students attending. However, when we're not face to face, we had about 25 of those students that we were reaching, because as I said, some were lacking in the textbook, and even though you give printed materials to some of them, when you go back to collect them, they are not ready or they are not there, and so forth. Presently, we have 27 students enrolled, and we're expecting that number to go up because persons are asking, and I'll be at school even on Wednesday, where I'll be meeting persons who want to register children.
That's awesome. One other question that has come in from the chat, Joy, have you ever had, or have you ever taught or had a special needs child at the basic school?
Yes, we had, and we had a student that what would call a little bit learning challenges, and that child came to us after the child was going to another school. And after myself and the other teacher, Miss Linton, who is on chat, she was also a part of that class. That child had improved so much, tremendously, in such a way, when she moved on to Landala School of Special Education, we were given the thumbs up because she was doing so well and continued to do well at Landala.
Just want to also let you know that over the years, that's one area that we at the Bluefields People Community Association have focused on. So we had actually brought in experts in order to train persons in how to deal with children with whether it's learning disabilities or children with disabilities. I really want to also say that when we were building the school, we built it with a ramp. So if a child that has to come there with a wheelchair, the child would be able to access the building. So we all of those things are taken into consideration when we're doing the plan and also when we're planning our education. However, because we're not a school that is focused on special needs, when we do identify it, we have to really pass it on the information to the relevant authorities and also to the relevant school, and arrangements will be made if that child need to move from our school to a more school which is more suited for that child's learning abilities.
And I may add to that, I am also trained in special ed. So I was training exceptionalities, dealing with children with exceptionalities through the Michael Teachers College as well. So I have a certificate in that as well. So early childhood teachers on a whole, most of them have some formal training once you go into training on how to deal with children with exceptionalities.
That's excellent. I know I have visited the school in the past and didn't notice until you called it out in the tour that the bathroom was even set up for a child who may need a wheelchair. And so I think that's just, it's phenomenal. You know, you guys have a wonderful building and a wonderful curriculum. And knowing that you have stellar students coming out of the school for, what was it, 60 years almost, or maybe more than that now, my math is off, but for a long time. 68 years. That's amazing.
8 years.
So
Well,
go ahead,
so,
Wolde.
really want to say that our partner, food for the poor. You know, when they raised the funds, it was wine and events entity in Florida, fine wine and events in Florida. And its founder died, and they end up, in honor of him, raise over 200,000 US. And they said to us, what is it that you'd want? We said we'd want a better school building. And we partner with the member of parliament in order to secure the land. And then we partner with Food for the Poor to build the building. And it was right about the time when the government were demanding that there would be more changes to the building code. So whether it's a private business, public building, it must build to accommodate persons with physical disability. And so our plant ended up being one of the first. It was designed by a contractor, an architect from Food for the Poor, and it was implemented by a contractor from Food for the Poor. And I can say to you that we did get a state-of-the-art building. And just want to also remind persons that if you have books or learning supplies that you would like to donate to the school, you can actually do it through Food for the Poor. So they are still supporting us, where any thing you would like to send to the school that would aid in the running of the school, they are charity, and they can bring it in duty-free into Jamaica for us. So again, thanks to Food for the Poor for the partnership.
That is excellent news. If anyone has questions, we have time for maybe one more question before we sign it off for the evening. So I'll pause, and if you'd like to come off mute, feel free to ask your question, or you're welcome to put it into the chat. Okay, hearing none. I do want to thank everyone once again for joining us today from all over different corners of the world. Thank you so much. Joy, Wolde, I'll turn it over to you to kind of get us wrapped up for the night.
Well, I want to say a big thank you to Megan and Ashley, myself and Wolde, who have started this whole movement of bringing together a team which we call the Bluefields Basic School Fundraising Team. It started out with us four, and it grew into what it is today. And we have been working since the pandemic, since the start of the pandemic, to really find ways and means in which we can help the basic school to be sustainable. I want to say thank you, Megan. Ashley is not here. I want to say thanks to Ashley. I want to say thanks to Auntie Pearl and to CJMAS. In particular, I want to say thank you to Uncle Bill. I call him Uncle Bill, and Auntie Margie. They have been a really good supporter, strong supporter of the Bluefields Basic School, because it's through Uncle Bill that we had the support from Missouri State University from way back in 2014, when they put in the first solar system for the water pumping system over the school. He also was instrumental in getting Eastern Michigan University to be a part of the Bluefields Basic School, and giving and supporting the Bluefields Basic School through Reliable Adventures Jamaica. And I want to say thank you also to Bluefields Village, who have been there. Thanks to Lunacy Inn. I want to say thank you to Belmont Academy, who have partnered with us also with Read Across Jamaica Day. I want to say thank you to the Bluefields People's Community Association, to the Bluefields Bay Fishermen's Friendly Society. I want to say thanks to Jawork. I want to say thank you to all the persons who are giving their donation through GoFundMe, or through monthly donations, or through a one-off donation. I want to say thanks to all the staff members present and past, because they have contributed significantly to the growth and development of the school. I want to say thanks to all my parents, because without the parents bringing the children to the school, we would not have a school. I want to say thanks to them. I want to say a big thank you to the community of Bluefields and its environs. I want to say thanks to Food for the Poor, to the government of Jamaica for its support, to our member of parliament, to everyone who continue to support the growth and development of early childhood education in Jamaica, and in particular, the Bluefields Basic School. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening.
Good. Well, Joy did all the thank you. I just want to remind you.
Thanks, Maurice.
I want to remind you that the purpose for this is to seek more donations. Maybe you have donated. Many of you who participated today have donated. First, I would really like to say thanks to Mr. Simpson, who is the principal of the Belmont Academy, for his donation. He's showing his commitment to early childhood education, as I know he loves education. Thank you. On behalf of the board, our chairman, Mr. Marlon Drummond, and the rest of the team, and our treasurer, Mr. Delbert Rodney, really want to say to you, we thank you for the partnership. We're looking forward in the continued partnership, and we're asking you to share the GoFundMe page with a friend, with family, so we can reach our goal in short order. Remember, we have a matching funder. So when we reach $10,000, we will be getting a matching fund of $10,000. So we're asking you to help us to reach that 10,000 so we can get that additional 10,000. We really thank you, and have yourself a wonderful evening.
I just want to say on behalf of CJMAS, I just want to thank those who have already donated through CJMAS. And remember, you can donate several ways. I think Megan already mentioned that. We also have our website, which you would get a receipt from Canada Helps. So please do so, or you can donate directly to CJMAS bank account, which I have sent out to everybody here in Canada. Thank you so much for what you've done so far.
I'm going to thank everyone again for joining and wishing you a good evening and good night.